Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Morrison, and I'm with the Massachusetts Behavioral Health Helpline. I'm community relations, and I currently live out in Lowell, but grew up all over Massachusetts. And this is a resource for everybody all over Massachusetts for all different ages as well. Now, a few things before I jump in. The biggest being, now, we often have a picture of who the exact kind of person is who calls a helpline. Our own images we have of people who might need this resource. And I invite you to think a little more broadly about this resource because I know it's great for all different types of reasons. I've used the helpline myself before. I have family members, I have friends who've used the helpline. It is a wonderful resource and has so many different applications that we really just don't want anybody to find it a barrier just by our own mental image of why somebody might use this or contact the helpline. So the Massachusetts Behavioral Health Helpline is accessible in a couple of different places. The first is this number on the screen. That's 833-773-2445, the BHHL. And you can call or text that number. And we actually also are available at masshealthline.com, where we have a chat feature, but more information about us as well. And what's great about that is it's a little easier to remember than that number. So I often emphasize masshelpline.com. That's all you have to remember. You can find it. They'll have the number there if you want to call. But we have those couple different contact points. And we are a service of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts brought to you by the Massachusetts Behavioral Health Partnership, or MBHP. So this is a high-level overview, stepping back a bit, of the helpline. These are kind of broad details of how the helpline works and how it came to be. We are all part of Massachusetts' bigger roadmap for behavioral health reform. And that roadmap actually has a couple of different elements to it. So it has the community behavioral health centers, or CBHCs, the urgent care centers, and the helpline as well. And how that came to be is back in 2019, the state got people from all different backgrounds together and kind of asked what is continuously not working. They held these listening groups. So we started with listening and asked what is continuously not working in Massachusetts for behavioral health care. So oftentimes people found, Massachusetts, in many ways, we're considered one of the better states for resources for these kinds of needs. And yet for so many people, they were still having trouble accessing basic levels of care or figuring out how to navigate it. Or in some ways, there were too many resources, it felt like. So it's confusing. How does this work? Where do I get in? What's my access point? And so from those listening circles and identifying what these different needs were, they developed this larger roadmap with those different elements I mentioned. And the helpline's big piece is really thinking through accessibility. So how do we make this system or these resources more accessible to everyone in Massachusetts? That is a really key operating word to what we do. So a couple of different ways we try to be really accessible is the first is that this is a completely free resource. It is available to anyone and everyone in Massachusetts. That is all different ages. You could have insurance, you could have no insurance. Sometimes the helpline has helped people figure out how to navigate getting insurance when they haven't had that. So the only reason we even ask that insurance piece is just to ensure we can get you the best possible resource for you based on your specific needs, your different coverage, or lack thereof. And we also, again, with accessibility, we offer live interpretation in over 200 different languages with resources for deaf and hard of hearing as well. Now, this is clinical interpretation. I know for me, I work in behavioral health. My first language is English, and still sometimes navigating some of those clinical conversations, I'm like, what are people talking about? And so it is really, really important to us that this is a feature available to everyone, that they are getting that care in their first language and that clinical interpretation specifically. Our average connect time is just 45 seconds when somebody identifies they need a language and getting them that care. So you can call in, identify what you need, and we'll make that connection happen. And as I mentioned before, we are available a couple different ways: that call, text, or chat, and that's 365 days a year, 24/7, day and night. What I will say is call. is the only place in which that interpretation is currently available. So we encourage calling if you need an interpretation. We also encourage calling for anything, and that's crisis. So if I need really quick care and I'm in a crisis situation, call is great. You can call for anything. You can call for routine as well. But text or chat might be really great. I've used it before I just have a more routine question, and this isn't urgent. I'm going to have my phone on me for a bit, and I just want some information. Text or chat can be great for those reasons, but we encourage calling for anything crisis. And then what we are, in a nutshell, is this kind of key phrase. We say we are a one-stop shop, or we aim to be a one-stop shop, with the idea being that the umbrella of behavioral health, of mental health, of addiction needs is a really, really large umbrella. So often one of the barriers that people identified in those initial listening conversations is that each of their needs were being treated very separately in Massachusetts, despite being super interconnected. So for instance, let's say we had an individual who is navigating addiction and they need addiction services. But maybe they also have something mental health related going on. They're depressed, they have anxiety, and maybe these things together are causing another crisis or being impacted by a crisis in housing or food resources. Now, we know those are super interconnected. This individual is not experiencing those needs all separately. They're all part of the bigger picture of what is happening with this individual. Yet often in the past, you'd have to go completely different places for each of those needs, which is exhausting when you're already navigating all of that at once. So our goal with the helpline is a one place for all those different types of needs. So we absolutely help with crisis care, for instance, which is the big picture people often get when they think of a helpline. And part of the state's goal with this crisis care is reducing unnecessary 911 calls, emergency department visits, when there might be another outlet in the community for getting that care. But we also do totally routine, and the majority of our calls actually are routine calls. So that could be, I've just had an uptick in anxiety or depression as the days have been colder and darker. I want to talk to a therapist, but I've got this really tricky to navigate insurance. I don't know what wait times look like. I don't know where to begin. I just have questions about that and want to get connected. Great reason to contact the helpline. It could be I am a provider or a family member of somebody, and they're asking about these resources in this area of Massachusetts, and I have no clue how things work there, like in Western Massachusetts, and I don't know what that looks like. I just want information or a list of resources to send over. I contacted the helpline myself when my sister-in-law was undergoing a bit of a housing crisis, and she had a couple other things going on, and I said, this is kind of where she's located, what she's looking for, and they sent me a list of stuff I could pass on to her. So it's really broad. It is that crisis to routine, but also just resources like food, access to food when you're experiencing food insecurity, free diapers, transportation, all those stressors that really impact our mental health. Now, this is the slide I'll be on essentially the duration of the rest of the presentation. It shows exactly what happens when an individual contacts the helpline. I always say this person over here is Olivia. That's my wife's name. She loves that I make her the person in distress calling in every single helpline presentation. But let's say Olivia has chosen to contact the helpline. Now, as mentioned before, Olivia could be undergoing any kind of need. She could be in crisis. She could be experiencing something much more routine. She could be calling the middle of the day, middle of the night. She might need a language other than English. She could be texting us. She could be calling. We do not know what Olivia is coming to us with or how hard it was for her to make this one point of contact. So maybe somebody gave Olivia the helpline number weeks ago, and every single day she's gone, I know I need to call that number, but it is really exhausting. It feels really vulnerable. I don't know that I have that in me. She's finally made this point of contact. Our goal and the state's goal with the helpline is that Olivia, in just making this one point of contact, has done absolutely everything she needs to do to get connected to the full range of comprehensive treatment services for mental health and addiction in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And there are a number of ways we're trying to ensure that is really happening. We have research from referral specialists who are constantly trying to know what's available, what's taking people, what things look like, a diverse range of resources so that Olivia has access to all of that. that just by connecting with one of us. But there are also a lot of ways in which we're really emphasizing that connection piece or getting Olivia connected to resources. So who is on the other end of the line when Olivia calls in? We have a knowledgeable clinical team of providers with expertise in crisis identification and referral services in Massachusetts. Now, they are an really warm, empathetic team. What I will point out is just there's a common misunderstanding. We are not technically a warm line. And what that means, it does not mean we're cold. Actually, the number one piece of feedback I hear in the community about the helpline is that this is an incredibly warm, empathetic team that they're received with every time they call. What it means is our primary goal is connection to resources. So there's a number of lines that operate more like warm lines where the primary goal is, I don't need to be connected anywhere. I just need to talk to somebody for a little while. And what we might do in that situation is try to connect you, say, hey, Olivia, it sounds like you could really use this place to talk to somebody. This is a number where you can do that. Can we connect you to them? So our primary goal is connection, and that can look like a number of different things. So when somebody calls, we'll greet them, we'll kind of ask them questions, but we also do this clinical assessment and triage right then and there on the line with them. Again, this is all free, but we use a number of formalized assessment tools to kind of triage Olivia, figure out what's going on. Maybe she needs a couple of different resources. Maybe it's not one referral she needs, but a few. There's a couple factors going on with Olivia here. Maybe she's in crisis. Maybe it's something much more routine. Once we've identified that gets us to our referral match and warm handoff. And this is a really, really key helpline piece that came from all those discussions back in 2019. I'm going to briefly hop over to this slide that shows how this warm handoff works. But what I always say about the beauty of this warm handoff, or why it's so important, is I know for me, every single year I go in to my doctor's appointment with my primary care physician. It's easy to get to because it's on the calendar a year out. They call me a bunch of times beforehand. I know I just need to get through those doors. Every year I tell my doctor the long list of things acting up with my body that year. I've got really bad knees. Maybe I could use new glasses prescription. I could use a therapist. Every year my doctor gets a slip of paper out. She writes these different numbers on that piece of paper and she says, these are your referrals. Go call those numbers. Every year, without fail, wouldn't you bet, I leave her office and I do not call those numbers because it is far easier to tell one person everything going on with you than it is to call all these different places. And I don't know how long I'll be on wait or if I'll actually get through to somebody. It feels really, really exhausting to do so. And so that's for me with a primary care physician, with just a doctor. For Olivia, who again might have taken weeks just to contact us because it's something really vulnerable, we extra don't want her having to re-explain to every single person what's going on. So we offer this warm handoff, and what that looks like, we would never do it without permission, but I'd say, hey, Olivia, do we have your permission to try to connect you with a provider right here on the line? We'll walk her through this. We'll say, hey, Olivia, it sounds like what you could really use is your local community behavioral health center. Works with Olivia's insurance. It's right down the road from her. They have what she's looking for. They're actively available. I'd say, hey, Olivia, do I have permission to try to connect you with them right now and share everything you shared with me with them? Then I would call up the Community Behavioral Health Center. I'd get Linda on the line and I'd say, hey, Linda, I've got Olivia on the other end of the line. This is everything she's experiencing, why we thought this would be a good match. Can I connect the two of you? Olivia, meet Linda, Linda, meet Olivia. And only once they're warmly connected and we have permission from everyone on the line would the helpline exit that call. And now we just love when we're able to do that because for us, it's a connection we know happened. A couple little caveats with it. If we would never force a warm handoff. So if somebody doesn't want that, like when I was contacting for my sister-in-law, I'm just looking for resources to pass along. There's no reason I need to be directly connected with somebody. So you can just say no to that warm handoff and get those resources. Let's say Olivia's calling in the middle of the night and it's a resource not actively available. We might say, hey, Olivia, this resource isn't open right now. These are their hours if you want to contact them, or we can give you this number. If she really wants that warm handoff though, we can let her know. We can try to have the morning team contact and establish that for you, or you can contact us back anytime and we can make that connection happen. And the final being, and I just like to say this because it has occasionally happened to people, I want to make sure people are prepared for that. If we have a lot of callers on the other end of the line, maybe it's a really busy time and we don't have enough call takers for the demand, we don't know if somebody's in crisis, we might say, hi, Olivia, we have to make this connection at a later point or give you these resources to contact now. Just sometimes happens, and so like people to be prepared for that possibility. But whenever possible, like I said, we love facilitating that connection and knowing Olivia got connected. Now, the other way we try to ensure people are actually getting connected is my personal favorite helpline piece, and that is that we always follow up. And what that looks like, we need permission in order to do it, but we will check back in on all the people who contact us and call us. And why I love that so much, why that's my favorite feature, is because the reality is in the behavioral health world and mental health and addiction, not everything is a first-time match. It just isn't, and that's okay. Sometimes it takes 1 or 2 or even 10 tries to really get that connection that feels right for you, that works. We know that's a reality of this kind of work and fields, but we don't want people to give up on that first try just because it didn't work out. And so it's really important to us to check back in. We tell Olivia she can contact us anytime she needs to, and feel free to contact us back. But again, it took her weeks just to call us. We gave her a resource she didn't end up loving. The last thing she's going to want to do is make that call again and go, hey, you guys messed up, do something differently. That's pretty intimidating. And so this follow-up is a great chance for us to check back in and make sure that connection's really happened. It looks a little different in different scenarios. Let's say this is an active crisis situation. We are checking in the next 24, 48 hours. We're making sure Olivia's in safe hands. She's taken care of and cared for and where she needs to be. For something more routine, we don't want to be calling every day while Olivia's got an outpatient therapy appointment for 10 days out. So we call more on that 14-day mark. And what that could look like is I say, hey, Olivia, first things first, how are you doing right now today? Now, we saw you had that appointment a couple days ago. How'd that end up going? Oh, you never made it there. Totally fine. That's okay. What can we get you that feels like a better match? Oh, let's talk about that. What was the barrier there? And that just ensures it's a really easy way for us to identify and give a space for Olivia to identify that need rather than her having the burden of having to do that when we didn't get her something she wanted. That is the helpline in a nutshell. I'm going to answer a few really common questions and then go over some final details. But how does the BHHL connect with other helplines? Now, this is a question we get a lot. We are the newest virtual front door to getting connected to care, but we are not the only door to getting connected to care. In fact, there are a lot of great numbers that have already existed in Massachusetts that people are using, and I always say there is no wrong door. So if you are using any of these numbers and they are working for you, we encourage you to continue doing so. That being said, we each operate a little differently, and the last thing we want is for people to go, oh gosh, when do I call the helpline? When do I call 988? This is more confusing than it is helpful. And so we work really closely with these different lines. We talk with them and a number of other lines, even not on this slide, so that we know what they do and vice versa, and when to refer and maybe do a warm handoff to them. And there are times they would do the same to us. So let's say Olivia calls, what she needs is more suicidal crisis, peer support. We might tell her, hey, there's this number 988. Can we try and connect you to them? We think they'd be great for this. There might be a reason she doesn't want that connection, and that's okay. We would do our best to help her on the line. But there are also instances where 988 has done warm handoffs and referrals to us and said, it looks like more of what you're looking for is a feature the helpline has. I like to talk about 911 because what I mentioned before was the state's goal with 911 is to reduce unnecessary 911 calls and emergency department visits. We never, ever, ever want to use these unless it is absolutely necessary. We are very cautious about when we involve 911 because we never want to escalate a situation more than it needs. But if somebody's life were in imminent danger, we would refer to them and go through them. How do we connect with other providers? This is a great one I like to clarify because some people think because we're part of the roadmap, we only use things like the community behavioral health centers or other parts of the roadmap. That is not the case. They are a great resource, and so that sometimes might be the referral. But they also might, let's say Olivia has an insurance that doesn't work with a community behavioral health center. We're looking far broader than that too, or a different kind of need that's more specific than what they're offering. That is totally fine. We connect to a large range of providers. We get really creative with it. So there are so many different types of care you might get when you come through us. We have a public data dashboard, which you can find on mass.gov / the BHHL.dashboard and or BHHL dashboard. This is where you can see some of our stats in the community about different types of care we're doing. If you look up to BHHL Linktree, I'll repeat that one more time, BHHL Linktree, everything I'm about to mention is going to be on there. It should be the first link you find, and you'll find this public data dashboard and a few other resources as well. So this gives some stats on our actually on 2024, our last year of operations, such as the number of calls handled, common cities we heard from, average call duration, wait time, etc. If there are questions about that, I can go over any of those slides in more detail. We also have this feedback portal also on the Linktree, but you can find it. And that works for any element of the roadmap. So that's the helpline, it's the community behavioral health centers. We desperately want to know when something doesn't go right or you have an experience different than what I'm saying. Our goal is that this is a long-lasting resource that's really giving that care. And this is an underutilized feedback portal. We don't get as many responses to this as we would like, and that doesn't I always say I don't love to hear people had negative experiences, but I love that I'm hearing it because we know they happen, and if we're hearing it, we can address it, we can follow up, we can make sure you're really getting that care you're supposed to be getting. We have this resource directory as well. Again, all of this on the Linktree, or you can use the QR code if you're watching from video and are able to access that. But this has some public-facing resources you can find and search up yourself for in the community. And then we have this toolkit where you can download materials in different languages to help spread the word about the BHHL. They have social media content as well, information, so you can tell people about this resource and make sure people know about it. And then finally, and then I will finish up, is we have a huge team of people just like me, 10 different people across the state who are our community relations representatives. We love. These are the emails for that. Mine is mary.morrison@carillon.com. We love to hear from you. So if you have any questions, if you have people who could use this presentation, if you have events that you'd love to see us at setting up a table, we would love to be there if at all possible. And we love to hear from you. I say very genuinely, I actually love getting emails. So email me anytime at mary.morrison@carillon.com. I love to hear from people. And I can connect you to whichever representative is best if you need a different area than I cover. All right. Final thing, and then I'm done. One last thing, if you've been tuning out this whole time, that's okay. You just need to tune back in for this. This is really everything you need to know about the helpline, everything we'd love for you to be telling individuals about in your community, your family member, your friends about the helpline. These 3 things. The first is the BHHL, the Behavioral Health Helpline, is a free clinical resource for every Massachusetts resident. This is a tool actively in all of your toolkits right now. Any of you could contact this number at any point or right after seeing this presentation for you, for a family member, for a friend, and get that care. The helpline connects callers to the full range of treatment services for mental health and addiction in Massachusetts, and we can help real time today with immediate crisis intervention, urgent and routine needs. We are that one-stop shop with that broad umbrella of behavioral health needs, looking to connect you in real time with the care you need, whether that's crisis or something very routine. We just want to make sure you're getting that care. So that is the BHHL. I'm happy to answer any questions people might have. And again, if anybody's joining via video, feel free to send me questions at mary.morrison@carillon.com. That's all. Any questions?
Last one.
Yeah.
I know you talked about, you want to make sure people get connected with the right resource and make sure that it's accessible to them. A lot of times the barrier to access care could be transportation, could
Yep.
be mobility
Yeah.
issues, could be anything like that. Can folks connect to like telehealth through
Yeah.
this service?
Absolutely. Yes. So those are some of the factors when we're triaging people, when we're asking questions, we're asking those kinds of questions too. What does your transportation look like? Do you need something for, are you non-ambulatory? Do you need that kind of care? Especially for older adults, we think of that, but for so many different people. So we absolutely would connect to telehealth providers, or we might connect you to transport resources that do transportation if you wanted an in-person meeting. Some of the community behavioral health centers even will come to people, and there's resources that do just that, so they can give in-home care. So it all depends on what you're looking for, where you're locating. Our goal is the most tailored possible resource for each individual calling, and each individual is going to have really unique needs, what they're looking for, where they're located. So definitely something to just tell us when you contact, and we'll try to find the best resource for that. Anything else? All right, great. Well, again, email me anytime with any questions, and thank you for listening.